There seems to still be a very tight-knit and inaccurate belief that YouTube drama in the short term benefits all creators, no matter what side of the coin that they are on. In this video, I will argue why I believe this isn't true. I personally think that YouTube drama benefits no one, no matter what side of the fence you choose to be on, and outside of being enjoyable to be a bystander and simply watching what happens, it leads to the downfall of a lot of great YouTube channels all the time. The main argument I'm making in this video is that when a content creator claims they're being criticized just for the drama or just for the clout, I'm going to tell you why, in essence and with proof, that is in no way a good way to build a channel. I think it's safe to say that YouTube drama as a whole isn't necessarily as prominent today as it was in the past. At one point in time, YouTube was entirely overrun with drama involving the biggest content creators on the platform. And while big platform-wide situations sprout up from time to time in today's day and age, they aren't nearly as prominent as they once were, with the most recent example of platform-wide drama on YouTube being the Actman vs Quantum TV issue. Now, I won't go into too much depth when discussing this issue, because in my opinion it doesn't actually represent what I would classify as meager, petty drama. While it all could have been avoided if the parties involved had have changed their strategy while handling it, things could have gone different. But the main reason why I don't really prioritize this drama in this video is because I think it represents a different kind of drama to what I'm actually talking about. Interestingly enough, however, despite falling into a different category of YouTube drama, the outcome is still the exact same. Everyone loses. In short, the Actman featured some footage from Quantum TV's video in a small segment of one of his videos. During the segment, the Actman criticised Quantum's stance on a topic, and upon the video's release, Quantum attempted to copyright strike the video. Fast forward a few weeks later, the Actman's channel was completely demonetized and he was removed from the Partners program. The reason I'm not going into more detail about this is because even though many people have already covered it, I don't see this as a traditional example of YouTube drama in the sense that this situation wasn't based off of a meager disagreement between two or more YouTubers or a dislike for a certain style of content, but instead was a situation where the YouTube community felt wronged in a situation where YouTube seemingly victimized the wrong person. Even people who probably have no idea who the Actman is were willing to step up to bat for him, because this is yet another example of YouTube fucking over a creator for doing nothing wrong, and the community using their voice to try and step in. In fact, this drama is very similar to a situation that happened with I Hate Everything back when his channel was bombarded with strikes and threats from Derek Savage, the director of a film that he criticized. This type of drama is based on backlash, caused by unjust punishment, and even with the entire platform on your side, it still seems to do next to nothing unless you're willing to play the waiting game. Both the Actman and I Hate Everything experienced incredibly large losses when it came to their YouTube career and success, simply due to being embroiled in the drama, and whilst more eyes are on your content when the entire platform knows your name, it doesn't necessarily mean, even if you're in the right, that it's going to be for a good reason. A common tactic by some real shitstains in the YouTube landscape is to state that whenever they're criticised by a channel that's simply smaller than them or isn't on their perceived level, to claim that the other person is just doing it for clout. I'm going to tell you right now why that statement is completely stupid, because it very rarely ever actually works. YouTube drama is an incredibly inconsistent way to grow a channel, and in that case, I'm willing to argue that in a majority of examples, it doesn't even matter if you're directly involved in the drama yourself or not. Drama can be aligned into a few categories. First is drama that relates to the criticism of one's content, and secondly, the criticism of one's character. Looking at the criticism of content first, many people have been adversely affected by the criticism of the content they create. In the case of Leafy Is Here, at one point, he was the fastest growing star on the platform, and whilst his content wasn't exactly revolutionary, it did very well and people loved it. After a certain point, however, many content creators who saw his success weren't happy with how little effort went into making the videos he produced, and that a majority of his most popular content was simply bullying people who didn't have the audience to fight back, or in the worst case, kids. Now, in a vacuum, this criticism wasn't unjust, but it didn't make anyone really look that good. The only content creators that really had a derisive say in the situation were content creators who were on his level, either matched his audience or were more respected than him. For most everyone else, while their prerogative could have genuinely been to point out the lack of evolution in his content, it's just as easy to see people shooting that possibility down by saying that they were in it for the clout. The aftermath of this period saw Leafy become a lightning rod of drama, where he would seemingly be roped into any situation involving popular creators, and as for the channels that originally criticised them, a major majority of them would see incredibly short-term success that would peter out in the following months. On the other end of that spectrum, EDP445, same story, different day. A popular content creator who is criticised publicly and suffers irreparable career damage. The difference between EDP and Leafy is that his drama was brought about due to shady personal dealings and the shady life of Brian, the man behind EDP, being revealed. Upon this info being revealed, both the channel that caught EDP in the act as well as EDP himself have both been completely irreparably damaged. Another perfect example is Grade A Under A. And just a quick disclaimer, I'm not passing personal judgment on anyone I talk about in this video. Not only do I not know these people in real life, but I haven't watched any of their content in about 3 years. Of course, I'm not passing any personal or judgment on anyone except EDP, he can burn in hell. At one point, Grade A Under A was considered to be the YouTube's golden boy, a creator whose content was loved by all. That was until it was revealed that his business acumen outside of YouTube behind the scenes was less than ideal, when he would publicly insult someone who he had done work with in the past. After that initial situation, he was also branded a coward by the wider YouTube community after he chose to side with Leafy during the Leafy Keemstar drama in an attempt to save his career. Many people saw this choice to strategically side with Leafy and not try to sort things out with Keemstar, as well as making videos with perceived false info as a betrayal in order to keep his career afloat, despite the fact that Keemstar, Leafy and Grade had previously had a very cordial relationship. Ever since then, Grade has only ever made sporadic comebacks to YouTube where he pulls in much less of an audience than he once did. In this case, while many people thought that the evisceration of Leafy and Grade was justified, it's hard to argue anyone looked good in the aftermath. Keemstar had already seen his reputation be cemented as a hot-headed, brash individual who had gotten on many people's bad sides in the past. Leafy would quit YouTube and would fail to continue producing videos on the platform. Grade's reputation outside of his fanbase had been altered for good, and even content creators like Scarce were adversely affected during the Keem, Leafy and Grade saga. One of the strategies utilised by the anti-Keemstar, anti-Drama Alert crowd was posing for the success of rival to Keemstar known as Scarce. His numbers did well initially, but as people began to realise this was a ploy to try and kill the success of Daniel Keem, Scarce began to drop in interest and numbers. And finally, in a lot of ways, even the people simply covering these situations tend to come out second best. A content creator by the name of Quinton Reviews had produced videos about quite a few major YouTube dramas over the years, and to this day, those videos are still the most popular on his channel, despite gaining more subs in 1 month than he had in an entire year in his peak. His content is at its worst now because of incredible short-term growth, his channel content not living up to the standard of his older videos, and the immense burnout of having to hit every trend to keep his channel alive. So why is the concept of gaining clout through drama a bad thing? Well, because it never works, and when it very rarely does, you will always have a quicker use-by date than other naturally grown channels. To succeed at being a drama channel, you have to always have something to talk about, never come off on the wrong end of a fight, and be ready to tussle with people you respect. As previously mentioned, Quinton Reviews has a relatively large channel, but has completely lost the motivation to make good content because of how much of that success was built on drama. Grade and Leafy have not fully returned from their hiatuses, and even iDubbbz at one point was considered a hypocrite by the YouTube audience after he contradicted his previous statements and became a simp. At the end of the day, success from drama can come fast, but it rarely ever lasts without adverse effects. Is short-term success really worth it? In the short term, no it isn't. While these are just some basic examples of YouTube drama fucking everyone involved, it happens a lot more than you may think. So when someone uses the phrase, "they're just criticizing me for clout," tell them how bad of an idea growing a channel through drama actually is. Tell them that even if they are in the right, everyone gets hurt in the short term and in the long term.